Let me take you back to a time in my life when everything seemed loud with distractions, opinions, and comparisons. Maybe you've been there too. Maybe you've had those moments where the noise of other people's success, the chatter of what you should be doing, and the constant pressure to keep up with everyone else drowned out the still, quiet voice within. I've been there, and I want to tell you, there's power in silence, and there's profound strength in focusing on yourself. The power of focusing on yourself cannot be underestimated. In a world that constantly bombards us with information, advice, and the actions of others, it's easy to forget that the real key to success lies within us. For years, I was caught up in the trap of comparison. I looked at everyone around me, friends, colleagues, even strangers on social media, and I thought, why are they achieving so much while I'm stuck? I compared my progress to theirs, my pace to theirs, and often felt like I was falling behind. Maybe you've been there too, constantly measuring your worth based on the success of others. But here's the truth. You are not in competition with anyone but yourself. No one else has the exact journey that you have, and no one else is going to walk your path the way you will. When I finally realized this, my entire perspective shifted. It wasn't about being better than the person next to me. It was about being better than I was yesterday. It was about creating my own vision, aligning myself with my own values, and focusing solely on my growth, my development, and my unique purpose. When I made this shift, I noticed something incredible begin to happen. I became more present, more motivated, and more connected to the life I truly wanted to live. This is something I want to share with you today. The real power in life comes when you turn inward, not outward. The moment you stop focusing on what everyone else is doing, the moment you stop measuring yourself against their timelines and achievements, you create space for your own growth to flourish. It's not an easy thing to do, especially when we're conditioned to look at the success of others as a benchmark. But the truth is, constantly comparing yourself to someone else keeps you from appreciating the progress you've already made and the potential you carry within you. Think about it. When you're constantly looking at other people's lives, whether it's through social media, seeing their success stories or hearing about their achievements, it can easily lead you into a cycle of negativity, self-doubt, and frustration. You start to think, why am I not there yet? Why are they succeeding and I'm struggling? But the more you focus on others, the less energy you have to pour into your own life and dreams. And the less energy you put into your own growth, the harder it is to move forward in a meaningful way. When you begin to shift that focus, when you put your attention on your own journey, you realize that you are where you are for a reason. You begin to understand that everyone's path is different and that comparison is not a fair measure of where you should be. Your journey has its own rhythm, and when you focus on that rhythm, everything aligns in a way that feels natural. Success comes when you stop chasing someone else's dream and start building your own. This process isn't just about focusing on your goals, it's about deeply connecting with who you are and what truly matters to you. When I started to focus on myself, I made space to reconnect with my own values, my own goals, and my own inner desires. I wasn't trying to chase someone else's vision for success. I was building mine, and in doing so, I found a deeper sense of fulfillment. I found that my success didn't have to look like anyone else's, and that's when I began to experience real progress. But it's not just about looking inward for your goals and dreams. It's also about recognizing that your value is not defined by what others think of you or how they perceive your progress. I've had people question my decisions, doubt my choices, and even criticize my journey at times. But what I've come to understand is that what others think about me is none of my business. The opinions of others don't define my worth, my abilities, or my potential, and they shouldn't define yours either. When you focus on yourself, you stop giving away your power to others. You stop letting other people's opinions dictate your actions. This doesn't mean ignoring feedback or avoiding constructive criticism. It means not allowing the noise of other people's judgments to derail you from your own path. When you focus on yourself, you start to build a level of self-respect and confidence that isn't easily shaken by what others say or do, you begin to understand that your worth is inherent, not based on anyone else's approval. This is where real strength comes from, the ability to trust yourself, your decisions, and your journey. The more you focus on yourself, the more you trust that you are capable of handling the challenges that come your way, the more you trust your ability to navigate the ups and downs of life, the more you become empowered to create the future you desire. The power to change your life lies not in the external world. As you begin to focus on yourself, you realize that you have everything you need within you to succeed. Your mind, your heart, your intuition, they are all part of a unique system designed to help you thrive. But you'll never tap into that power if you're constantly distracted by what others are doing. Focus on your own growth, your own potential, your own happiness. Take ownership of your journey, and don't let anyone else's timeline or success define yours. You are enough as you are. And focusing on yourself is the first step toward realizing the greatness that already resides within you. The silence of self-reflection is a powerful tool that often goes overlooked in our fast-paced world. We are surrounded by constant noise. Social media, the pressure of expectations, the opinions of others, and the endless bombardment of information that demands our attention. We live in a world that praises busyness and outward accomplishment. But the truth is, it's in the moments of silence, when we step away from all that noise, that we uncover the most profound insights about ourselves. Silence is not an absence of sound, it's the presence of clarity. I want you to think about a time when you were truly alone, no distractions, no noise, just you and your thoughts. Maybe it was a quiet walk in nature, or an evening where you disconnected from all technology and simply allowed your mind to wander. In those moments of stillness, the answers you seek have room to surface. But you'll never find them if you're constantly chasing external validation or approval from others. I remember a time in my own life when I felt lost. I was constantly hustling, trying to build something successful, but I felt like I was spinning my wheels. I was overwhelmed with trying to live up to other people's expectations. I was doing what I thought I should be doing, not what I felt deeply called to do. I was distracted by everyone else's ideas of what success looked like. I was running, not thinking. I was letting the noise around me dictate my next move. But it wasn't until I decided to step into silence, to take a pause and really reflect, that I began to see the clarity I was seeking. The silence of self-reflection allowed me to look inward and ask myself some tough questions. What do I truly want? What am I passionate about? What is it that really drives me? And more importantly, where have I been wasting time, energy, and effort, following paths that weren't mine to begin with? These questions were uncomfortable, but they were necessary. In the silence, I found the space to reconnect with my true purpose, away from the distractions of comparison and external noise. It was in that silence that I realized I had been living someone else's story, not my own. When you make space for silence, you begin to hear your own voice more clearly. The distractions and noise fade, and you can hear your heart speak. This is where true self-mastery begins. Self-reflection is an act of self-honesty. It allows you to take stock of where you are, where you've been, and where you want to go. It's in that space of quiet introspection that you align your actions with your true values and desires. You stop reacting to the world around you and start creating your life from a place of intention. We often look for answers from others, books, podcasts, motivational speakers, social media influencers. And while these can all be valuable resources, they shouldn't replace the power of your own self-reflection. No one knows you better than you know yourself. In fact, most of the answers you're seeking are already within you. They're just waiting for you to give them the attention they deserve. But when we are constantly busy, constantly distracted, we never give ourselves the chance to really hear those answers. It's only when we embrace silence that we give ourselves permission to listen. This process of self-reflection can be daunting at first because it requires us to be brutally honest with ourselves. It forces us to confront the things we may not want to face. But the beauty of silence is that it allows us to process these things at our own pace. There's no one around to rush us, no one to judge us, just us, in that moment, fully present with ourselves. The answers we seek about who we are, what we're capable of, and what we need to do to succeed are found in that silence. I've also learned that silence isn't about avoiding the world or withdrawing from relationships or responsibilities. It's about taking the time to check in with yourself, to pause, to breathe, and to make sure you're living intentionally. When we spend time in reflection, we strengthen our inner foundation. We become more resilient in facing the challenges life throws our way. The louder the world becomes, the more important it is to create spaces of silence for self-reflection. One of the things I encourage people to do is create moments of stillness in their daily routine. It doesn't have to be hours of meditation or a retreat to the mountains, though those can be great too. It can be as simple as waking up 10 minutes earlier to journal or taking a walk without your phone. Those quiet moments, free from the distractions of the outside world, allow us to connect with ourselves on a deeper level. It's in those quiet moments that we can reconnect with our vision. We get clarity on our goals, our values, and our purpose, and that clarity is the foundation for our success. Without it, we're like a ship without a rudder, tossed around by every wave and current. But with clarity, we know exactly where we want to go, and every decision we make aligns with that destination. We become laser focused, and instead of chasing after every opportunity, we learn to say no to the things that don't serve our greater purpose. In my own life, embracing silence and self-reflection didn't just change my mindset, it changed my entire life. I began making decisions that were in alignment with my true self, not based on external pressures or what others were doing. I became more focused, more confident, and more aligned with my own vision for success. The silence of self-reflection isn't just about finding peace or gaining clarity. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about standing in your truth and owning your path. When you silence the external noise and tune into your own voice, you open the door to transformation. The success you seek is not out there in the noise, it's within you, waiting to be discovered in the quiet moments you create for yourself. And when you start listening to that inner wisdom, when you start trusting yourself more deeply, that's when life begins to shift. That's when the real magic happens. The dangers of comparison are more prevalent than ever before, especially in today's world where we are constantly exposed to the curated lives of others on social media, in the workplace, and even in our personal circles. It's natural to look at what others are achieving and wonder why we're not there yet or why we haven't attained the same level of success. But here's the thing, comparison is a silent killer of growth, progress, and self-worth. The moment you start comparing your journey to someone else's, you lose sight of your own unique path. I remember a time in my life when I was deeply caught in the comparison trap. I'd look at other successful individuals, people who seemed to have everything figured out, and feel like I was falling behind. It wasn't just on social media either. It was in real life too. Whether it was watching a friend get promoted or seeing someone buy a new house, I found myself thinking, what's wrong with me? Why haven't I reached that point? It was paralyzing. I became so focused on what others were doing that I lost sight of my own potential and the progress I had already made. I allowed the success of others to overshadow the unique journey I was on. When you begin comparing yourself to others, you lose the power to appreciate your own achievements. You start to question your worth based on someone else's timeline or milestones. This constant measuring of yourself against others' lives can breed insecurity, self-doubt, and a deep sense of inadequacy. The truth is, comparison never brings you closer to your own goals. It only keeps you in a cycle of frustration and unfulfillment. Everyone has their own journey, their own struggles, and their own victories, and they're all on different timelines. You may be ahead in one area while someone else is ahead in another. But the race is not against anyone but yourself. One of the most liberating realizations I had was understanding that I wasn't meant to walk someone else's path, no matter how successful, how influential, or how together someone else appeared to be. I wasn't them. And that's a beautiful thing. I learned to appreciate my own pace, my own growth, and the unique set of circumstances and opportunities that were leading me forward. Everyone's journey is different, and it's easy to get distracted by what others are doing, but I realized that when I focused on my own journey, I began to see how far I had come. Let me be clear, comparison doesn't mean you can't learn from others. It doesn't mean you should shut yourself off from inspiration or mentorship. In fact, there are powerful lessons to be gained from those who are ahead of you. But what comparison does is it pulls you into a negative mindset where you start to believe that their success somehow diminishes your potential. When you start comparing, you forget the one crucial thing. Their success doesn't take anything away from you. Their success is not a reflection of your own worth or progress. We all have different stories, different challenges, and different timelines. When I stopped comparing myself to others, I started to see how much I had accomplished, how much I had grown, and how much I had learned. I began to feel a sense of pride in my own journey. And that's when everything began to shift. I stopped focusing on external milestones and began focusing on my own growth. Instead of looking at someone else's success as something I lacked, I started to look at their success as proof that what I wanted was possible. If they could do it, so could I. The shift from comparison to self-reflection is not an overnight transformation. It's a daily practice of reminding yourself that your journey is yours alone. It's about embracing the fact that your story is unfolding at the right pace, regardless of where others are in their own lives. This shift allowed me to stop feeling pressured to hit milestones just because everyone else was. Instead, I started setting goals that were aligned with my true desires, not goals that were based on external validation or someone else's idea of success. It's crucial to understand that the success of others does not diminish your own potential. We all live in different circumstances with different backgrounds, skills, and experiences. So how could it ever make sense to compare those journeys? When you focus on someone else's journey, you lose touch with your own. You forget that your path is one of a kind, and the only way to truly progress is to focus on yourself, your growth, and your next steps. Comparison keeps you stuck in a cycle of competition and validation seeking. But when you break free from that mindset, you free yourself to grow in your own time at your own pace. I realized that when I focused on my own path, my own purpose, and my own values, I found an incredible sense of peace. I stopped worrying about what others were doing, and I stopped letting their success define my own. And that's when I truly started moving forward. It's a shift that takes time, but it's one of the most empowering steps you can take on your journey to self-mastery. When you focus on your growth, your values, your goals, and your progress, not the progress of others, you start to see your potential more clearly. You start to understand that your success is inevitable and that there's enough success for everyone. The success of others doesn't take anything away from you. It only serves as proof that your dreams are attainable too. So I want you to do something today. I want you to take a step back and really ask yourself, am I comparing myself to others? And if you are, I want you to stop. Recognize the power of focusing on your own growth, on your own journey. Start acknowledging your wins, no matter how small they may seem. Celebrate your progress. When you stop comparing, you free yourself to walk your own path. And that's where the real magic happens. Your success is not tied to the success of anyone else. It's tied to your ability to stay focused on your own journey and move forward with confidence, purpose, and intention. And once you do that, you'll see just how powerful you truly are. When you focus on yourself and embrace the silence, you create the mental space required for true transformation. It's easy to get swept up in the distractions of life, especially when you're constantly trying to keep up with the world around you. But the truth is, transformation doesn't happen in the noise. It happens in the quiet moments, the spaces where you can hear your thoughts and feel your heart. For a long time, I thought that I had to keep running, keep doing, and keep striving to make progress. I believed that success was a direct result of how much action I took, how many hours I worked, how much I could hustle. But there was a moment, a pivotal moment in my life, when I realized that success wasn't just about doing more. It was about being more. It was about the quiet moments where I could pause and really check in with myself. It was in those moments of silence that I began to understand what truly mattered to me and what I wanted my life to look like. In that silence, I started asking myself questions I had never dared to ask before. Am I really living the life I want, or am I just trying to meet everyone else's expectations? Am I moving toward my own goals, or am I just chasing someone else's dream? Am I truly aligned with my values, or am I simply going along with what others think I should do? These questions were uncomfortable, but they were necessary. They forced me to slow down, take stock of my life, and start shedding all the unnecessary noise. The reality is, most of us live our lives reacting to the noise around us. We react to other people's demands, to the pressure to conform, to the constant barrage of information. But it wasn't until I started spending time in silence that I realized how much of that noise was not my truth. I had been living a life dictated by external expectations, family expectations, societal expectations, the pressure to keep up with peers. But silence allowed me to strip all that away. It was like hitting the reset button. In those moments of silence, I could hear my inner voice, the one that had been drowned out by all the noise. I began to understand that the life I wanted to create wasn't going to happen by following someone else's script. It would happen by tuning into my own desires, my own purpose, and my own passions. True transformation comes from aligning your actions with your authentic self. And that alignment only becomes clear in the silence when you can quiet the external world and focus inwardly. One of the most profound lessons I learned through this process was the importance of stillness. I realized that the more I tried to push, to force, to hustle, the more I resisted the very thing I needed most, peace. When I gave myself permission to step away from the noise and just be, I realized that there was so much clarity waiting for me. In the silence, I found answers I had been searching for my whole life. The path forward became so much clearer. The distractions faded, and I could see my purpose with a level of precision I hadn't been able to see before. And this is where most people get stuck. They think that success is about running nonstop, pushing harder, doing more. But in truth, it's about knowing when to slow down, when to reflect, and when to listen to yourself. I began to see that everything I needed to be successful, everything I needed to live a fulfilled life was already within me. I didn't need to chase after it externally. I needed to create space to listen to my inner wisdom. Now, I'm not saying you should stop working hard or stop taking action. Hard work is necessary, but it should come from a place of clarity and purpose, not from a place of distraction and external pressure. The hustle culture often leads us to believe that we have to be in constant motion, constantly striving, constantly pushing. But true power comes when you can be still and focused, when you know exactly why you're taking action and where you're going. In my own life, the most meaningful breakthroughs came when I was able to silence the distractions and focus on what truly mattered to me. When I stopped trying to keep up with everyone around me and started focusing on my own journey, everything started to change. The results were not immediate, but they were profound. I became more confident, more aligned with my purpose, and more at peace with myself. The quiet moments became a wellspring of insight, and from that silence, I was able to take meaningful action toward my goals. One of the most powerful practices I adopted was to intentionally carve out time for silence every single day. Whether it's through meditation, journaling, or simply taking a walk without any distractions, these moments of quiet became the foundation for my growth. And in that silence, I found clarity. I was no longer distracted by what everyone else was doing. I wasn't constantly reacting to the external world. I was grounded in my own truth, and that made all the difference. Silence does not mean doing nothing. It means creating a space where you can hear your own thoughts, where you can reflect, where you can connect with the deepest parts of yourself. It's the place where you find the answers you're looking for, the wisdom you need to move forward. And when you embrace this silence, when you focus on yourself, when you embrace the silence, life begins to shift. The things that once seemed impossible start to feel achievable. The distractions fade away and you begin to realize how much power you've always had within you. You can no longer be swayed by the noise of the world because you have tapped into something much deeper. And when that happens, you begin to create the life you've always dreamed of, not through struggle or pressure, but through alignment and clarity. It all starts with focusing on yourself and allowing the quiet to show you the way.